Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is 4 p.m. ET, and we are so pleased that you have found us here on Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. This is a very special time for a very special guest and a very special book. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 15, going on 16 novels of suspense. My current book is One Wrong Word, casually displayed on my door behind me, because that's what you do, put it on your door. And my new book coming out next September is called All This Could Be Yours, about a writer who makes a Faustian bargain. And you will hear about that when the time comes. But today we are, spreading rose petals and champagne and confetti and everything else that you could possibly do, fireworks, for the incredible Rachel Howzell Hall and her brand new book, The Last One. Look at this. Well, Rachel, this is all new for Rachel. Rachel is a famous rock star, best-selling crime fiction author who has turned to a new genre, and I'll talk about that with her in 1 second. This brand new book out today, Happy Pub Day, is a GMA pick, a Good Morning America pick. That must feel very nice. Rachel, Happy Pub Day.
Thank
Welcome,
you,
welcome,
Hank.
welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, and especially on a day like today, not only my book birthday, but yes, the Good Morning America December book club pick.
So the December book club pick, and you held up that book. I have the advanced copy, but you have the super fabulous real copy. Make sure that, wait, don't do it so quickly. Don't do it. So we're going to hold up the cover on camera, then look at the sprayed. So tell us about this, Rachel.
So there's this whole movement on getting like pretty books on shelves. People like collecting beautiful books, which as writers, of course, we love that. So this is an embossed special edition with, of course, the sprayed edges, and then this colorful inset, and the naked book itself is gorgeous. And there's even a map of my realm that I created. So it's a whole kind of, yes, books and the words inside, but also books as like these pieces of art. And they're limited edition. So if you like art and making, having pretty books on your shelf, you better snap one up. So
I gotta say, Rachel, did you ever think you'd ever hear yourself say, "This is a map of my realm"?
No, no. No, because my realm is Los Angeles, and
How well I know. How well I know. So I'm going to ask you one more question about this gorgeous book, and that is, before we get to what's inside, when you got that special edition, when you first saw that, and you've been an author, such a successful author of crime fiction for such a long time, and this genre is new, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But when you opened the box and saw that book, can you just tell us about that?
I've been lucky to have great looking books. Both Forge and Thomas and Mercer are very dedicated to giving me pretty books, right? But this was just something like beyond what they've done. I mean, it's foily and it has a good feel, and it just feels. It brought tears to my eyes, because I know this is an investment from the publisher. These are not cheap to make. And I felt, really, really special. Like I was worthy of a very fancy chic, lots of ink type of book. And after doing this for so many years, it made me feel like I've arrived, like finally, like for real, for real.
I mean,
So,
you are such the genuine article. You're determined and such a hard worker, and
thank you.
so devoted and so incredibly talented. You know, I've been a massive fan for
Yes, you have. And
so long. And
I
look at all
thank you
the
for
people
that.
here. Oh, my pleasure. Sharon Bishop is here, and London Nieves is here, saying that he saw it on Good Morning America this morning. I really want this book on my shelf. And Robin Stahl says, "Wowza, look at this book." Now that's a great marketing strategy. Catherine is here, and Deborah is here, and Robin, and Susie Baldwin, and Catherine Holland is here. Vicki Gregory says, "Gorgeous."
Thank you.
Your fan club is growing and growing.
Yeah.
Let me
No,
quickly say, so this is Pub Day. What are you doing on Pub Day?
I'm actually working my day job. I have a day job. And it's a pretty robust, it would be a career if I didn't do, novel writing on the side. So I just got out of a meeting and now I'm talking to you. That is my life. I am such a duality where it's like, I'm in a meeting on Zoom, on Teams, and worrying about, is my microphone on? And then I turn to talk to like one of the most famous, brilliant writers in crime fiction. And that's my life. You
You are one of the
are.
most famous, brilliant authors in crime fiction. This book is an absolute triumph, and everyone is talking about it. And one of you lucky crime timers is going to win a copy of the last
Yes.
one, not this one, and I'm keeping it. You will get a wonderful edition of the last one for your very,
Yep.
very own. It is addictive. It is the beginning of a series, and you will not be able to put it down. Let me very quickly say, so the key is, Sue Street says, good afternoon from Wisconsin. Good afternoon, Sue.
Hi.
So you know the scoop. You all leave a question or a comment or just general adulation and cheering and applause and rose petals and confetti for Rachel, or even ask her a question about it. Let me
Yes.
mention that in the comments, and we will get to that in the questions at the end of the show. If you are new to Crime Time, welcome, welcome, welcome. You have picked a doozy of a day to join us, you lucky ones. You remember that A Mighty Blaze was started at the beginning of the pandemic 5 years ago now by the fabulous powerhouse team of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt to keep us discovering new books and keep us discovering new authors, meeting our favorite authors, and maybe making some new favorite authors as well. And we have continued dozens of volunteers here on A Mighty Blaze to bring you literary stuff, reading, writing community 24/7. And we are so pleased that you all are a part of the community. Speaking of part of the community, we are here to celebrate Rachel Howzell Hall and her brand new The Last One, the gorgeous new book. Let me tell you a little bit about Rachel quickly, and then finally I will let her talk. You're like, Hank, let her talk. I will let her talk. Rachel Howzell Hall is the critically acclaimed author of the Amazon charts bestseller We Lie Here, the Anthony Strand and International Thriller Award nominated These Toxic Things, and the Los Angeles Times Book Prize nominated And Now She's Gone, which was also nominated for the Lefty, Barry, Seamus, and Anthony Awards. Rachel is a former member of the board of directors for Mystery Writers of America and was a featured writer on NPR's acclaimed Crime in the City series and the National Endowments for the Arts weekly podcast. Rachel lives in Los Angeles with her husband and daughter. And again, her brand new book, The Last One, is a Good Morning America Book Club pick for December that deserves a song in itself. So Rachel, you have written crime fiction for the past however many years, very, very successfully. This is not your regular genre. Can you tell us about this and look at the blurb on the front on the whatever you call that thing? The violator is called About the Last One. Rebecca Yarros, the queen of us all, says masterful storytelling with the female protagonist Ruth Worthing. Ruth. You read it. Worth rooting for. You guys read it. It's more than that too. Can you tell us about romantasy and why you decided to write romantasy? What does that even mean?
Well, it's a genre. It kind of existed before, but didn't have a brand. But it's starting to become a thing now, and it's romance novels that have fantasy elements, so romantasy. And I hadn't written either, not a romance, not a fantasy. And this was an opportunity. My agent had always talked about the brilliant publisher Les Peltier, who is the publisher of Entangled, and Liz was launching a new imprint called Red Tower, where she wanted to have these stories, high concept romances of established authors. And she asked, if I was interested in writing a series. And again, I hadn't written romance or fantasy, but I knew Liz's reputation, and I knew that my agent would not present me with an opportunity that she didn't believe in. And so I said yes. And I quickly learned that this is hard, writing two different genres smushed up together, where I had to come up with every single thing. And I got a great education. It was a vertical learning curve because it was my first book, and there were no trunk novels. This was it. This was it. And I learned quickly. It took me some time to get used to the conventions, to actually believe that I had to come up with everything, like everything down to the name of
Talk
an
about that
animal.
because this is so fascinating to me. I absolutely devoured this. We're talking about the last one by Rachel Howzell Hall, and part of my brain was immersed in the story, and part
Yes.
of my brain was saying, as a writer, how on earth is she doing this? I do not know how she's pulling this off, because you were talking about it's a romance with fantasy. It's also a fantasy with romance. It's sort of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Stranger Things, as Liz said, but it's
Uh-huh.
also so you that no one else could have written this. So how did you juggle all those, the conventions that readers of romantasy absolutely expect,
Yeah.
bring your own stamp and your own voice to it?
I think, it's the same, I think, with my crime. I know that there are set voices and what's expected, and I kind of color outside of that because that's the only thing I know how to do. It's weird because I am a hack in the daytime. I ghostwrite for the CEO of my hospital, and I write in other people's voices all the time.
Mm.
But when it comes to my own stuff, it's like my voice is my voice, and if you don't like it, there's nothing I can do about that. And so I kind of bought that same, well, this is how I know how to do things. It yes, romantasy, but there's some crime mystery elements in this story that may not be in a story written by a true, pure, fantasy or romance author, because I like mixing all these things together. I think that's one of the strengths of our genre, our mystery crime genre. Any story can be a mystery. Any story can have red herrings. Any story can, make you think about transgressions and all the stuff that I talk about in my crime stuff. I'm doing the same thing in a way with this story. And I wanted to start from a familiar place. I'm about to go into this new land of, beasts and maps and all the rest of it, but the story is not too different in terms of how it starts. And every one of my crime stories always starts out with one woman in a world that seeks to reject her or seeks to keep her down or tell her that she doesn't belong. And that heroine goes through the book trying to figure out who she is and why she matters and what her role is in this world. And for Kai, my heroine, it's writ larger than that because there's this realm and it's dying, and she has to figure out why the realm is in peril. So
So, I mean, it's certainly suspenseful. I mean, it's infinitely suspenseful throughout. It is absolutely a page turner. But exactly as you say, it is a quest, it is a journey with supremely high stakes
mhm.
for the world and for Kai as she goes through this. Can you tell us a little bit about the story specifically so we know? I mean, we're
Sure.
not going to give away anything, obviously, but
Yeah.
tell us what world we're in.
So this is there are 67,000 realms in my Ethereum, as I call it, and this one is very similar to Earth, but of course, in a fantasy sense with weird creatures. And my character, she wakes up in a forest outside this grimy little town called Mayford, and she can't remember who she is, why she's there, and why she must reach her end goal, which is, well, I can't say that,
Well, she
but she
doesn't
has to
even
figure
know what
out.
it is, right?
Right,
At
she
the start
doesn't
of
know
it.
why she's there, and so she's met with resistance, people who are telling her who she is, uh, reasons why she should give up and just die. I mean, she is faced with resistance as she's going throughout this realm of Valandor. She teams up with, a hot blacksmith, as one does in real life, to figure out, who she is and why she must get there. And she doesn't know who to trust. This blacksmith, his sister, who is a little thief and is the first person she actually meets when she opens her eyes in this forest. And she slowly comes to figure out um, nothing is what it seems. And I had a lot of fun with that. And I wrote it from first person. And because I wanted to be, since here I am writing, romantasy, my very first, and in many ways I'm lost in this and I'm trying to figure my way out. And, I have setbacks and all the rest of it. First person was very much appropriate for my heroine because she doesn't know anything. And you find out things, you meaning the reader, you find out things as she's finding out things. So no one knows what's happening. And that was a powerful thing for me. I wanted her to be disoriented, and I
Mhm.
wanted the reader to also be kind of like, well, what is going on? Who is telling the truth? Why should she care?
But
Because that is life,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
And I think that what you do so geniusly in this, among other things, this is total immersion storytelling. And once you open the first page, we're talking about The Last One by Rachel Howzell Hall, which we don't know whether it's someone is the last one or the last one who did this is someone. We don't know
Uh-huh.
what that means. Very, 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 very layered. But
Uh-huh.
from the minute you open the page, the first page, you are in this new world. And it's never confusing,
Hmm.
absolutely consuming and irresistible, but
Thank
it's
you.
never confusing. And you somehow straddle this. Let me just read you all about, I'm going to read you like 4 lines, and it is almost random lines. But when I read these 4 lines, it lets us see, and you said it's Mayford or Mafford?
Mayford. I call it Mayford,
Okay.
but yeah.
So tell me, when you all listen to this, think about what you see and what sounds like our world and what is clearly another world. The day star burns bright in the sky by the time I leave Gary's. The, the baking hard, dirt packed roads haven't softened even after the water from yesterday's rain. In such bright light, Mayford looks like faded, like a memory disappearing moment by moment. The market is gone this morning. The wander weavers must have packed up overnight and moved on to the next village. So we know, like, the day star, the wander weavers, but we know exactly what that is. Can you
Yeah.
talk about creating this duality of the familiar with the fantasy?
It was so hard, Hank. Oh my God, it was so hard. Oh my gosh. Well, fortunately, I had some tools coming in. My degrees from college, I English and American literature. So
Mhm.
I have a whole bookcase of, you know, Canterbury Tales and Homer and Shakespeare and all these things, even down to 100 Years of Solitude
Mhm.
and magical realism. So, and I'm a kid who went to church all her life. So I have Song of Solomon's and Psalms and all this great literature and poetry and imagery in my head that I finally kind of get to pull out and play with. But even still, that was still hard. And fortunately, I am a gamer. So I, play big games like Baldur's Gate, and I'm playing Dragon Age now. And so that helped me with all the kind of imagery because I'm used to that. My husband on his side, his one column of books, he's an illustrationist and a gamer as well. But he has all these, the art of the Hobbit, the art of you know uh,
Oh,
Elder Scroll, all these kind of fantasy books that I finally kind of pulled out and started looking at them forensically, like I do for my crime stuff. And that was the hardest part because did I want to just call it the sun? I wish, I wish I could have because it's so much easier. But I wanted it to be a true, everything's different. I wanted to call the wandering merchants, the nomads, something else. So wander weaver. So wander weavers, down to the animals. Curse you flies because curse you fly. It's like that. It broke my brain because in crime, everything exists in this world, down to the laws. You murder somebody, and how long you may serve, where you may serve, what's going to happen to you in prison, all the rest of it. But for me, it was difficult to actually believe that I had to create everything: religion, politics, sex, the God structure, all of it, all of it. And it's one of those things where, I respect, I've always respected writers in every genre who dare to do what we do. But fantasy is just, it's amazing just
Well,
how
we've got
much you have
Jones
to
and
rely
Sarah
on.
Moss and yeah.
Yeah.
And George R. R. Martin certainly in Game of Thrones, and you're relying on your brain and your
Hmm.
imagination complementing the reader, that your very smart reader's ability to see cinematically something that they have never thought of before.
Yeah, yeah. And do that because I am a crime writer, and you know this. We want people turning those pages. And my day job, I write proposals and reports, and the first rule is write to your potential donor as though they have to pee. And because they may put it down and you want them to come back. And, so I'm writing with a bit of urgency. I want to tell more, but I'm very much aware that a pie may be in the oven for my reader and they may have to rush over and get it. Do I want the pie to burn? Yes, I want the pie to burn, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. So you're going back a little bit. You were talking about having to come up with religion and hierarchy and structure and animals. The animals are so great, Rachel, and
Thank you.
relationships and rules. Also, this is a book about power. You know,
Yes.
the giving of power, the taking of power, the regaining of power. What did you? I don't. What did you learn about psychology, if I can ask, and how human beings, no matter what world they're in, beings, let's say,
Uh-huh.
deal with power and the use and the need of power.
Again, I mean, coming in as a crime writer, that's all we write about is power, who gets to wield it, who uses it and abuses it. And so I tapped into that kind of hierarchy. Who gets to say that that's wrong? And as a kid who grew up in church, I grew up watching hypocrisy in action. Someone who, is cheating or beating his wife, then gets up in the pulpit and tells everybody else how wrong they are. As a kid, that would always frustrate me. And now I get to talk about that, about what is good and what is bad, who is good. I like morally great characters because, as we all know, and what I always say, we are someone's villain in their story. And I find that fascinating. You think you're going through life as this great person, and someone absolutely hates you. And I wanted to bring that into this book of who gets to decide these things. And for the religious structure, I that was fun because I looked at the angel structure, cherubim, seraphim, blah blah blah. And my husband and I, we were driving up the 5 freeway, talking about religion as we do. And the question was, well, God is all powerful. Why does he need angels? And that made me think of the body, our human body. I am Rachel. I have a hand, but I have a foot, but still it's a part of who I am. They just have different kind of functions. And so I wanted to create a religious structure where there is supreme, but there are all these spokes that feed into what the idea, what the power is. And so all these weird conversations my husband and I have had over our marriage, I pulled all those out to say, since this is my universe, I get to kind of bring this up. I get to talk about politics and taking people's stuff in the name of a king and just how ridiculous that can be.
And it's also about, we're talking about the last one, the brand new Romantasy by Rachel Howzell Hall, just out today, and a Good Morning America book club pick for December, you all, just saying. It's also about belief and the power of belief and the sort of weaponization of belief, how you try to impose that on
Yeah.
someone else, and how also belief can empower us. Kai, at
Yes.
the beginning of this book, has to find her way back somewhere that she doesn't even know where is, and she gets some information that something has gone wrong that she has to fix.
Hmm.
Did you know? I'm not giving anything away, you all, because you just have to read this for yourself. Did you know what the story was when you started? How much did you know?
I knew I knew about 85% because I outline. I am an outliner. We've talked about this before. I outline, but I outline so that I can also, if the muse comes and says, go over there, I will go over there because I'm tethered to this outline. So I feel free. So I knew
Mm.
um, who she was, and how she got there, but some things I didn't know. Like some of the characters, her comrades, I didn't know they'd be who they were, and that was exciting. The belief thing, yeah, I'm fascinated with cults. I've read like every Jim Jones People's Temple book there is because I'm fascinated with the idea of personality and how fear sometimes plays into that, where you're hoping for the best. And so I'm going to believe in this, and just how it can lead, to the worst thing happening, and that is the end of your life. So again, I don't get to really do that in my crime stories. And it felt wonderful to kind of have the space to talk about all of that.
Well, you do it so successfully. I do feel, I do feel Canterbury Tales in this as much as I feel Game of Thrones and all those captivating journey stories
Yeah.
where people sort of collect comrades and enemies along the way
Yeah.
with a goal. But yours is super interesting because Kai doesn't really know at the beginning what her goal is, and that
Yeah.
makes it all the more fascinating. Now, not only, you all, did Rachel tackle a brand new genre and hit it out of the ballpark, there is also epic poetry in this, because why just stop at writing?
Why just stop?
Talk a little bit about this amazing feat of poetry that is woven throughout and why you decided to do that.
Well, because I mean, you think about all those big stories, Canterbury Tales, all they have elegies and these odes, and things are written on vases, and I wanted that kind of like big, big, big.
Well,
And
the
again,
Odyssey, it's Homer, and it's the Odyssey, and it's
right?
Gilgamesh, and it's
Uh-huh.
all those kinds of tales,
Yeah.
almost oral history tales.
Yeah. And if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it all.
So you
And
share,
so I did. Oh my God.
and so
Again, because again, this was an opportunity for me to just go buck wild with this whole world. And I don't pull out the stops with my crime story, so I didn't want to do that with here. Once I've accepted that I had to go far, then it's like, okay, well, get in, losers, we're going losing.
it's such a triumph, I have to say. And not only do we have this massive epic story and gorgeous epic poetry throughout, Rachel, it is sexy and funny. And the banter is worthy of Tracy and Hepburn. It is so, if I can be if I can be old fashioned about it. I love how they go talk.
No, that was also hard too, because in our stories we don't write about sex scenes or anything. We put people in blood and all the rest of it. And I'm not a romantic really, and so I did have to turn to like those great romances I love. And Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn are they were incredible. But I also loved, here I am as a Gen Xer, Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis
Sure.
from Moonlighting, and Sam and Diane from Cheers. And that's where I turned, and that was exciting because I remember the burn between Maddie and David, and but I was also very aware that it kind of fizzled once they got together. The show kind of like, now they're together and it's over. So I was very much aware that I didn't want that fire to fizzle out. So I had to keep feeding it in the way that, I chose. So
And what makes it work so nicely is that even though wherever they are in their world, we won't discuss, they're emotional and intellectual and physical equals.
Yes, yes. And I wanted that. I wanted both to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
And Kai is very strong. And but if you see the strongest woman, there's someone there that will she feels vulnerable with. And sometimes that person may take advantage of that, knowing that they're the only person on this earth who could say that thing to her. And she just kind of like crumple or just get really, really mad. And I wanted them to be equal in that. I find that fascinating. I really wanted her to be this kind of fully realized woman that she is everything because I think women, we are everything. We are caretakers and we are business women and we go for it and we lay back. We're a mess and I love it. And I love that she's a part of my coterie of heroines now.
She's a triumph, absolutely so. And I do want to say that even though we've been talking about the classics throughout, there are also references to things that are super contemporary. And I don't think I'm wrong about this, but I think there's a reference to Good Times, the TV. In, is that true? Did you do
It
that?
was good times.
Okay. And throughout you all, there's stuff like that that will absolutely make you laugh and make you feel connected to the story and make it feel even more real to you and make you hear Rachel Howzell Hall's voice in this book so spectacularly. I have one last question, and then we will go to your questions. And my last question is this: it's sort of a weird one. When you have a world where there's magic,
Mhm.
how tempting is it? It could be tempting to have magic just be the solution to everything. Well, I'll
Yeah,
just magically make this be okay. But you have magic as this sort of living thing that
yeah.
it exists, but it doesn't, and you can't control it, and it's not always yours. Can you talk a little bit about the use of magic and how you have to rein that in and let it go?
Yeah, no, it was a kind of a twofold process that I learned. My editors, when I in my early drafts, they would point that out. They were like,
Well,
she shouldn't just be able to do these things. She has to earn them. And when I turned back to my video games, when you're playing, especially a role playing game, you just don't get the magical sword or the power to shoot fire. You have to earn it. You have to destroy bigger, 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 bigger creatures. And with everything you learn, you get more. And that's how we are in life. I mean, you didn't start out, on TV. Your Emmys just didn't come. You had to tell that stupid story about that trailer park over in that place no one cares about and just work up and up and up and up until the big stories. And I wanted that for this world. I think I, it is not interesting to me if everything is just solved like, Samantha twitching her nose.
yes.
No, I mean, the nose twitch is fine, but where's the fun? Where's the resistance in that? Where's the journey in trying to become better? And even though some of these people, these beings are magical and powerful, even in that, I wanted them to have some resistance and not always rely on the wind in my hand or the way I can create fire. I wanted them to be like how we see our police forces. Yes, you have a gun. Should you use it all the time? No, sometimes you should talk to people. Sometimes use a taser. There are so many different approaches than that fatal pulling out. I can shoot fire from my hand, or I can do the worst thing. And for story, I think story should make it so that characters don't have it so easily. So,
Here's the resistance. I'm going to write that on a little piece of paper,
yeah,
because it's about conflict, and it's about desire, and it's about passion and compassion, and how far someone will go to get
yes,
what they want and what they might have to give up to get it. And
yeah.
that is beautifully realized in the last one. Rachel, congratulations.
Thank you
This is
so
out of the
much.
ballpark, just blockbuster fabulous. We have so many questions. What was the most challenging aspect of writing the last one, says Vicki Gregory. And thank you for being here, Vicki. And what was the
Thank you.
most fun?
The most fun was creating her counselor, Viral. who is from the order of the Rinrian, who are like these sages. He is like this really kind of catty, wise man who heals Kai in some ways, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. He is funny. I loved making him his observations of life and correcting her when she thinks she knows it all. That was fun. What was hard was creating this whole world. Like, how far do you go? Oh, you go that far, but still keeping it so that the pages move. That was very hard for me because it's so much bigger than my crime stories, which are 100,000 words. This needs to be 150,000, and it's like that's a lot.
It
That's a
flies.
lot.
You cannot put this down, you all. Do not even look at the page count. You'll never even notice that. Who else has a question? Margaret says, hey, Margaret, Rachel's a new author to me. So here's my pet question. Do you keep a diary? Do you keep a diary? A
I
writing
do
diary?
not. I used to. I kept a diary from third grade to like the second year out of college, but I no longer keep a diary. Uh, Partly because I write now, and a lot of what I am scared of, what I fear, what I'm most excited about goes into my books. Like my books, yes, they are commercial, but they're also incredibly personal to me, and it's where I work out things.
I
So,
completely agree with you. I used to, Sue Grafton, I think, kept a writing diary every day with,
yeah.
say, day one, this. So I thought, if Sue Grafton can do that, I'm going to do that. So I wrote day one. I have no idea. Day two, I have no idea. And the deadline is, and I thought, this is not going to help me.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just stopped. Deborah, hey, Deborah, welcome. What made you decide to write crime fiction? And what were you writing before this book?
Crime fiction I was writing before. I like crime because it just naturally I cotton to it because I'm fascinated by what people do to each other, the bad things we do, and how sometimes um, the bad guy gets away. I am fascinated with personalities, and crime is nothing but personalities. And I will continue to write crime because that's just my natural uh, tendencies. I am fascinated by the evil that people do and the people who come in and try and clean it all up.
And certainly is crime throughout this one. This is how
Yes.
crime is how some people get what they want, and the
Yeah.
ramifications of that will echo throughout the book. So you've brought your crime into romantasy as well.
Yes.
I'm going to try to think of an amalgam word for that. Julie says, "Hey, Julie, which character were you closest to in the novel?"
Definitely Kai. Um, I put pieces of myself in every lead character because, as a woman and then as a Black woman, I go into spaces all the time and people are sometimes threatened by me or underestimate me. I mean, talk to any woman and she'll say, "Oh yeah, I've been in rooms or spaces where I'm not supposed to be there." I think of all my characters like Tippi Hedren in The Birds, where you're just kind of minding your business
Yeah.
and the world just goes crazy, and people are like, "Witch," and it's like, "What? I didn't do anything. I'm just here. I'm just as confused as you." So, definitely Kai.
Yeah, and she's great. She comes across gorgeously and incredibly complex. I'm going to skip to Katie Waslin's question as our last question, which is, do you have any pub day rituals? What are you doing the rest of the day?
Well, I am going to a little free library to put a copy of the book in.
Oh,
And every pub day, my husband and I, and if my daughter is here with us, she's in college, but if she's with us, we go to Mastro's Steakhouse in Beverly Hills. And I get one of their delicious ribeyes and a glass of the best Cabernet. And we toast every pub day. That's what we do. And that's what I'm doing tonight.
congratulations, Rachel. That is so exciting. I'm
Thank you.
envisioning you and your family with that wonderful Cabernet and ribeye, which sounds fantastic. Celebrating really a milestone. This is just, your career has already been stellar and marvelous, and I cannot wait to see the explosions that happen as a result of this. Which,
Thank
did you
you.
tell me that it was like Good Morning America?
Yes, yes. I think it's on this book right here.
The Good Morning America December Book Club pick, that is absolutely fantastic. And one of you lucky crime timers will win a copy right now of this marvelous novel, The Last One. Let us spin the wheel of fun and see who will win. Somebody is going to be very, very magically lucky. And that winner is Deborah Press. That is great. Deborah, you will absolutely love this. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Now, don't listen to this, Rachel. The rest of you, right now, not right now, but in about 30 seconds, run, click, 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 get this book in your little hot hands and then clear your calendars because you will absolutely love every page of The Last One by the brilliant, marvelous, imaginative Rachel Howzell Hall. Stay there for one little second because I'm just going to tell you not to move because in about 20 minutes, we'll be back here with Pip Drysdale's The Close-Up, which is so cool, so inside Hollywood meta thriller writer with writer's block and what happens to her in a world that we totally understand.
Totally.
Unlike the brand new world of Rachel Howzell Hall's The Last One. Rachel, congratulations.
Thank you, Hank. Thank you for having me on. I love talking to you.
Well, I miss you and congratulations.
I miss you too.
That's completely marvelous. I love thinking about this. You all click, 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 run, get Rachel's brand new book. And I will see you back here in 20 or so minutes with Pip Drysdale and The Close-Up. Remember, you all, until then, it is always safe inside a book. And we will see you next time.